From the Corner Office is brought to you by Synovus Bank, championing business growth through trusted, relationship-driven banking throughout the Gulf Coast region. Andrew Wright is a classic entrepreneur, starting businesses and growing them. He's done that in commercial real estate, private equity, and even restaurants. He was also a paperboy while growing up in Ohio. The Business Observer writes about entrepreneurs and business leaders like Wright every day, online, and every week in print. Go to businessobserverfl.com to subscribe. Hello and welcome to the Business Observer's From the Corner Office podcast. I'm Mark Gordon, managing editor of the Business Observer. Today's guest is Andrew Wright, co-founder of Franklin Street, Alley Capital Group, and Next Level Brands. Andrew, thanks for being here and welcome.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Well, we're going to talk about your companies you started and leadership. Before we get into that, we're going to get our audience to know you a little bit better. Some rapid fire questions. We're going to start with a time machine, a DeLorean. Okay, you have a time machine, Andrew. You can go back in time or into the future. What would you choose and why?
Back in time, no doubt about it. I think, there's a lot to learn. We're not the first people to have gone through all that humans go through today. So to go back in time and kind of be reminded by that, absolutely would be back in time for learning lessons.
Yes.
Now, what time period? That's a harder question. I probably want to be able to skip around a little bit. So hard to narrow down when, but I think there's a lot more to learn from the past than the future.
I like it. So in the past, and we're going to go a little future on this next question, although it's kind of current, I guess, but what have you used AI for in the last week for work, personal? I used to ask this question, have you used AI in the last week? But I pretty much think everybody has. So either ChatGPT or AI, what have you used it for recently?
Well, we use it for a lot of things. So in the past week, it'd be multiple use cases, everything ranging from, we have our own proprietary database system where we've exposed Claude to it. So data retrieval and interpretation. We use Perplexity AI for a lot of deep research and updating various market reports and things that we have. And then on the personal front, I use ChatGPT probably mostly for just finding recipes. And my wife and I are going to Costa Rica, so I was asking her about things to do in Costa Rica, and pretty much all aspects of life it touches these days.
Yes, it does. Okay, recipes. That's another good segue to question 3. What is the best thing? What is your best meal to prepare or cook?
I got to go with some Italian dishes. I love making a good carbonara. I have a really good vodka sauce that my kids love that they ask for a lot. But any type of sauce where you can sit there and cook and kind of watch over it for a while and drink some wine and interact, those are probably my favorite things to make. The meal is almost secondary.
Yeah, the conversation. All right, excellent. Great. Well, Andrew, let's get into your career a little bit. You've had a couple of different companies that you started. Just take us back in time, even before Next Level Brands. Tell us about where you're from and how you kind of got into a business career.
Well, I grew up in Columbus, Ohio. My dad worked for UPS for 30 years. My mom was a dental hygienist that reinvented herself as a lawyer, that reinvented herself as a music teacher along the way. So diverse background, 2 working parents. I'm half Colombian, so my Colombian grandparents lived 2 blocks away. With both of them working, I was always over at their house. And my grandfather was a civil engineer, so that probably piqued my interest a little bit into real estate related matters. And always, kind of was interested in that. I was an entrepreneur from 13 years old. Started a car washing business way back in the day. Always been a hard worker. Delivered newspapers, which is kind of my kind of talk about back to going back in time. I don't know if people deliver newspapers today, but I delivered a daily newspaper for 6 years.
The Columbus Dispatch?
The Columbus Dispatch.
Nice.
I still have a carrier bag, to this day. So
yes.
That was a big part of my upbringing.
I did the same in Long Island, New York. I delivered Newsday. My dad made me a little wagon, and that was my thing, and I literally threw the papers.
Yeah, well, we then you had the snow and the elements, so I always had to sort it, and if it was raining or snow, I had to double bag them. And Sundays you had multiple sections and all the advertisements and the comic section.
That's awesome. I love it.
It was a lot of work being a paper boy.
It was.
good for the future. But always pretty entrepreneurial. So grew up there, went to college at Miami, Ohio, and majored in finance and business statistics. My senior year of high school, I graduated. My family moved to California. My junior year of college, they moved to Atlanta. Again, my dad worked for UPS for 30 years. That's where they were headquartered. And so coming out of school, my family wasn't where I'd grown up. And I had a lot of interest in real estate and entrepreneurship. One of my friends owned a business, family business in Tampa called La Segunda Bakery. They're from here, 104-year-old business. Maybe longer now. Got to check with them, but it's been around for quite some time. It's enough for me to look. Another of my friends got a job in Tampa, working for Marcus and Millichap, a real estate investment brokerage, and it was enough for me to look. Came down, went to my job interview. Afterwards, I hit a hole in one at West Chase Golf Course, number 11, and I thought it was fate. So moved down here in October 2002 and began my real estate career.
Really? And so it's like, I mean, that's such a memorable, the hole in one. You remember the whole, I mean, I guess if you hit a hole in one, you're going to remember it anyway, but that must have been some day.
Well, particularly considering I'm a terrible golfer. I mean, I was never good. I think that day I probably shot 115 with the hole in one. It was a 5-iron, 150 yards over the water, which not exactly not a great distance for that club. But like I said, fate brought me here. One hopped into the cup. I was in a foursome with people I still work with today, so it's kind of funny how that weaves into my life still to the moment, and that's how I ended up in Tampa.
Yeah, that is really amazing, actually. That again, that you're still with some of those people today. So, I mean, you started a couple of businesses. Tell us about the ones now. What are you primarily doing now? Which entities are you working with?
Yeah, that's always, I get that question a lot. How do I allocate my time? It's really one of the hardest things to answer. I kind of give time to whatever needs it in the moment. I've been very fortunate in my career to have great people I work with, and one of the biggest skills is trying to transition from being that individual performer to a coach, or a leader across many people in many divisions doing multiple things. So it's I wouldn't say it's one or the other. Franklin Street's in a great phase. It's growing exponentially. We built a great core business, and now it's just expansion. Real estate market's not the best that it's been last couple of years. We've been facing it like everybody else, but it's created a lot of opportunities for us in our expansion. So we have a lot going on there. Ally Capital, my investment business, kind of likewise, deal velocity has slowed down a lot. So we've been really out there beating the streets, looking for new opportunities, trying to figure out the new pricing paradigm, and executing on some really exciting projects that we already own. I always tell my team, like, the new shiny penny is not the only thing to focus on. You got to take care of what you got already. So we spend a lot of time on our existing business. And the Next Level Brands has been a partnership that I've been involved with since 2020. And it wasn't, as Jeff, my partner, says, hospitality finds you, you don't find it. No one gets into that business thinking they're going to be in that business for a long time. I certainly didn't. Didn't expect to be in the business at all, frankly, but it's been great being part of a group of entrepreneurs and building really a great company. We have some amazing concepts and some great future plans. So, kind of across the board, I spend most of my time mentoring, people, leadership, setting some strategic vision, and then following up and supporting people where they need. But I wouldn't say I have one that I, favor over the other. It's kind of week to week, whatever's needed.
We talk about mentoring and finding the next leaders, and that's a lot what we talk about on From the Corner Office. So, Andrew, what does leadership mean to you? What defines good leadership?
Well, I think it changes. I think there's some base foundational things which I'll get to, but what you need in a team of 5 is not what you need in a team of 500 across multiple geographies and multiple business lines. The way in which you communicate, what you communicate about, is really, really important. But I think that there's some foundational things, and one is the team itself, the people, the human relationship. People, there's only one way to build a relationship, Mark. It's not magic, right? You got to spend time with somebody, and the level of intensity of that time directly correlates to the depth of that relationship. The more intensive a situation that you go through with someone, the closer your bond is. Even if you have different backgrounds or different interests or different aspirations, you still got to spend time together. So spending time with my people, developing trust so that you can coach them, and then being able to articulate a vision and know what people need. A great leader overcomes the shortcomings of their team. Not everyone's good at everything. And so helping people through those moments, and a lot of times it's getting people to do something that they didn't know they could do. It's pushing them. I tell people all the time when they start working with me, I want to be friends and I like having a social relationship, but no one's coming to work at one of my businesses to be my friend. They're trying to find a career, they're trying to build wealth, and in order to do that, you got to hold people to a high level of standard and an expectation, and I certainly do that. So it's a wide array of everything from motivation to discipline is what I'd say leadership.
Yeah. Well, it brings up a good point. Something I struggle with personally as I lead a team at the Business Observer is that balance between cheerleading and building the confidence as you talked about, but also holding them accountable to their goals. How do you handle that? Is there an example that sort of stands out to you? But as a leader, how have you handled the balance of that?
Well, I think first you prioritize the mission. Going back to it's hard to do great things when everyone's pulling the same direction. It's really hard when people aren't. And so making sure that, I mean, I have 100% of the people that come in my office have these big aspirations and they want to accomplish all these things in their future. When it gets to the actual execution of it and the sacrifice and the delayed personal gratification that it takes to be successful in life, that's where you got to see where the rubber meets the road. So I think first and foremost is anchoring in a vision of accomplishment, but not at the expense of personal integrity. So we are very honest and open. We don't call each other names, but at the same time, everyone can come up with an excuse and a reason why they can't do something. Right? I'm not from Tampa, not from Florida. I don't have any money. My parents aren't in the business. I don't know anybody. There's established companies. They're all bigger. Everyone knows more. I can give you all the reasons why I wouldn't have been successful. Why I have been successful is because I've anchored in the vision of what we want to accomplish, and then I brought people into it. It's real life. It's not a game, right? People are there feeding their families, defining their careers with what they're doing. So I think first anchoring in that mission is number one. Now, the second part of that is just being authentic. People put up such a wall. I mean, I have bad days and good days. I have personal things going on. I have 5 children, so I always have a lot going on with them. A lot of the human elements that bring you together, loss, things like that, just kind of anchor in like I'm a human first, I'm a person first, prioritize family, I get to know people, it's not transactional, I care about their relationships and their people, and you kind of weave those things together. So first, going back, it's not a social club, so we're here to work and we're here to accomplish, but then also, not making it too transactional. And we're unique in standing out that way. And all the businesses that I'm in, unfortunately, more and more they become more transaction based, and particularly in my services business, it's like running a sports team, where who's the next person to sign me to my next 5-year deal. I try to stay away from that type of stuff to try to stay on the authentic side. And then last but not least is preaching it within the culture. Ultimately at a company, and depending upon the size, it's not about my relationship with everyone; it's their relationship with each other. So it's espousing a cultural vision and being the police and the guarantor of that culture that I think is my most important role in all of it.
Yeah. So Andrew, take me back, what's a piece of leadership advice or mentorship that you heard? Maybe it was from your dad, you talked about UPS. What's a piece of leadership advice that influenced your career today?
Well, I think just work ethic. I don't know, piece of advice probably relates around that. You have good days and bad days, but it's an accumulation of moments, not a singular moment. And waking up every day, it takes a lot of personal courage to get up and be productive and face everything, particularly with all the stuff going on in the world today. But I don't know that it was that different in Vietnam or World War II or kind of Revolutionary War. Every generation has dealt with whatever they're up against, and I think being authentic, to that vision, kind of getting up every day and being a person first, not trying to put up some image, and then having faith, calm through the storm. I have no idea if we're going to be successful or not. I don't know if the deal's going to work or not. I don't know what the future holds, but I know that I'm going to get up every day the same way, and I think that kind of concept of best advice is just get in, work the same, good days, bad days, and to accumulate moments and make every day slightly better. And I didn't get lucky. I take it back. I've gotten very lucky in my life, but it didn't happen on its own. It's 20 years I've been in Tampa, a little bit more, 23 years I've been in Tampa. It's been a lot of work over that time frame.
Well, I don't know, being your Ohio guy, if you have a disdain for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but It's a famous Chuck Noll quote, right, about Franco Harris and the Immaculate Reception, right? That he was hustling and good things happen. Luck happens to people who are hustling, right? So it sounds like you mixed a little bit of both.
Well, it's also contagious.
Yeah.
On both sides of things. I mean, when you're setting the pace. I mean, going back to leadership. I mean, the hard work is part of the accomplishment, but the other part of it is people see it. Hey guys, work really hard today, but I'm going to be gone golfing and on the boat all day. Leadership is more in action than it is in words. It's a follow through. It's what you don't say. People, I think, have a really good sense of what's authentic and what's not. And I mean, I live it. I mean, I'm in the office every day, all day. I didn't get, like I said, I didn't get lucky. And I think the people that are around you, when you're asking them to do more and to push on when they see you doing the same thing, I think that's contagious.
Totally. All right. So a segue though, are you a Browns guy, a Bengals, Steelers, Bucks? Who are you? What are you?
It's a complicated question. Now I'm a Buccaneers fan, but I grew up a Browns fan.
Okay.
And the team was moved like my senior year of high school.
Oh man, that's a tough year in life to lose your football team.
It was, and so my dad was a Steelers fan. My mom was a Bengals fan. So I think I was a Browns fan just in protest. But after they went away, I was definitely not going in either one of those camps. So I basically anti the entire AFC North, including the Ravens. Was not the great, despised the Ravens for a period of time. And then when the Browns came back, it just wasn't the same. And the very first year I moved to Tampa in October of 2002. And the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl, I believe, in February of 2003. So, I was like, okay, perfect. I'm here.
I'm in. All right, so getting back to leadership, what is sort of a tough or difficult decision, Andrew, that helped shape, Franklin Street, at least for me, because I've known of Franklin Street and written about Franklin Street several times in the Business Observer. What's a tough decision you made that shaped what Franklin Street is today?
Well, I think it's just keep going. Entrepreneurship is so difficult. It's not rainbows and sunshine. People see the success and the accolades, but not the 20 years of sacrifice and difficult decisions. Oftentimes, profit and growth are on the opposite ends of the spectrum. And when you're always trying to accomplish more, I don't come from, there's no Uncle Daddy Warbucks in my life. So it was either you produce to be able to reinvest into the business, and then as it grows, you want it to obviously grow more. And you're also dealing with the human element of the promises you made and the people that you're dealing with. And when all those things aren't going perfectly aligned, you got to start a company in December of 2006, and then August of 2008, the world's collapsing on top of you. And then 2020, when you don't know what's happening, kind of being calm through the storm. And frankly, right now, we've been in a very tough environment for real estate transaction-based businesses for the last 3 years, and being calm through the storm is one of the hardest things that you can do, because people get erratic and you get fearful and trying to kind of be steady. That's probably the single biggest thing, is just continuing to persevere and push on when there's other safer options on the table.
Yeah, it brings a good question. I mean, especially as you said, in this environment where deals are tougher to come by, and interest rates and tariffs and all these other things that are impacting closings, have you had to resist sort of the temptation to make a panic deal just to make a deal? I mean, is that something that's come up, and how do you do that? How have you been patient and stayed that course?
Well, I would say this cycle, I'm more of an experienced leader at this point. I've been doing it for 20 years, and I've seen and felt kind of the fear that kind of creeps into the whole situation. And good market, bad market, you got to run business the same way. The same thing on the top side, where you're being more conservative and people being more aggressive in their assumptions and paying more, whether you're talking about talent or real property. Deals were trading at 3 caps in the apartment world. Brokerages were, people were having their best year ever, trading at the highest multiples to change teams, and resisting the top end of the market is equally as perilous as navigating the environment that we're in right now. And so I think the hardest thing for us is just trying to support our team members while it's in a tough environment. You have a lot of brokers that were making money hand over fist, for several years, and now they're going on 3 years in a much different environment, and that weaves into their psychology and how they deal with their team. And if your leader's like, I don't know how we're going to make it, no, we got to get out of here, and you're all panicked, that doesn't exactly bring calm and productivity to the rest of the group. So I think it's I can't remember which line it is. It's either some of these mafia movies, but it's never as good as it seems. It's never as bad as it seems. It's always somewhere in the middle. But when you're in it, you think it's never going to get better. When you're at the top of it, you think it's never going to stop. And for me, being through it, it's just being calm and steady through the storm. And we're not a startup business. We have a lot of diversity in what we do, and it's kind of communicating that to other people. I mean, for the most part, aside from what I'll call the last 3 years, it was a straight run up. If you got in the business in 2010 and you were in it until 2022, other than a little blip in COVID, I mean, you've never seen a down market. You don't really understand. We've been on such a strong bull run in Florida for so long that people don't psychologically know how to deal with that and impact it. So I think for me, the biggest thing is not making panic buys or any panic decision. It's not on either side. It's not thinking that it never ends and make stupid acquisitions on the top, and it's not panicking. It's on the bottom line. It's just being steady through the storm.
It's a good point, right? Because you have that decade where that headline that came out, 1,000 people moving to Florida every day or every year, every whatever, not every day, that would be crazy, but 1,000 people, moving to Florida. And so you guys had to respond to that. So you guys were busy for a decade.
Yeah, I think there was a period where it was 1,000 people a day moving to Florida at a 21, 22 timeframe. Slowed down a little bit, but it's still, look, I mean, I'm kind of going through a lot of those migration numbers now, and I feel like it's slowing down. People are moving less, but they're never underestimate the problems of other places. That's what I tell people. It's like, is insurance chasing people away? Like maybe a little bit, but on the whole, people are moving to Florida. They're going to continue to move to Florida.
Yeah, insurance is certainly, it feels like insurance is more of an obstacle maybe than it was, but I don't know if it's pushing everybody away either.
Yeah, no, it's my wife is a little bit of she gets excitable when natural disasters are pending, probably like a lot of people, and so forever she's been like, we need to get, all our places are by the water or close to water. We got to go up into the mountains. Let's get a place in Asheville, North Carolina, and then the storm came through and knocked out Asheville. It's like, babe, we better get a new plan.
Yeah, I don't know where you would go to. There's really nowhere to go to avoid all that. I want to ask. You got 3 different entities and all these sort of different deals potentially happening. How important, Andrew, is storytelling to your leadership when you're, working on deals, mentoring people, leading the teams? How important is storytelling?
Incredibly important. I think that's true in all aspects of life. Things don't just happen on their own. It's and a lot of times people are cynical, particularly in this world. It's easy to tell you why not and tear it down than to get behind why it should be. Or how it could be, because it takes a vision, it takes your ability to communicate, and it takes persistence to be able to see it through beyond just, I really liked it, but is it going to happen? So I think telling a story, whether it be about Franklin Street and the future of our business, or whether it be a property and we don't really buy things just to sit on them as they are. We're always improving them. So whether that's selling that to investors or selling that to a lender or selling that to our investment committee team, just trying to make the right decisions. And not the least of which, selling that vision and dream to my wife. So it happens even on the personal front, right? Where you get, I think that's, chief salesperson, all great founders, all great CEOs are, first and foremost, great salespeople.
Sales 100%. Is there a mulligan, something, man, I wish I did that deal in 2015, or I wish I didn't do that deal in 2016, something that stands out in your mind, either way that you'd like a mulligan on?
Absolutely. And, it's hard for me to say because I was so aggressive, starting the company when you're 26 and all the things that you go into, but I wish I would have been more aggressive in expansion in the 9, 10, 11, 12 timeframe. There's deals that we'll never see again that transpired at that time. That's hard for me to think. Apartment deals I saw traded $30,000 a unit are now trading at $250,000 a unit, and that doesn't feel like that long ago. Feels like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
But in the moment, you're licking your wounds off of the downturn and the collapse, and everyone's panicking everywhere, and it's easy to talk yourself out of deals. I learned at that time where real estate is the only business where liars and cheats can get rich, and smart, honest people can go bankrupt because of the illiquidity and the capital intensity. And so it's about riding the waves. It's about the secular trends, and I won't miss another cycle. I promise you that, Mark.
Yeah, we have a story coming out that was actually recently out in the Business Observer regarding 30 years ago, the 30-year anniversary of the Florida Aquarium in Tampa. And within that story, it talked about the first apartment complex in Channelside and what the prices were then. And it's like 30 years ago. Man, if you knew what you knew, that's true in a lot of real estate deals, but it's right in front of you there how much that particular area has boomed.
Well, there's a saying, right? The market can be irrational longer than you can stay solvent. The truth of real estate, if you held it, I mean, I did this chart a long time ago. I would have to update it now, but from basically every 8 years is a cycle. So if you bought something in 2007 and held it until 2017 or 18, it would have been a 4% annualized growth rate. But the reality of it, it went down 80%, and then up 20, and then up 30, and then down 10, and then up 4. It's like this to have that trend. So I think in real estate, really almost all things, if you got a good business and a good good piece of property, a good place with good macro trends around it, then it's a matter of it'll be worth more. I guarantee you, all real estate around here will be worth more in 20 years than it is today. But it'll be worth more and then worth less and then worth more than worth less. So.
For sure. Andrew, one last question as we're getting down toward the end of 2025. What's one or two things that you're particularly looking forward to, excited about for all your companies and brands going into 2026?
Well, I think just more market velocity across the board, I'd say. In Franklin Street, we have built such a great business there. We're expanding. We're buying companies in other geographies. And it's fun to watch something that you started as a 26-year-old kid flourish into one of the leading private companies in Florida and watching it expand and grow. So super excited about that. In the real estate market, I'm hoping that prices, either prices fall a little bit more or the operations improve. We haven't triangulated the new value paradigm, so I'm hopeful that happens in 2026 so we can start to see some velocity. And on the restaurant front, we're opening up a bunch of restaurants all up and down the Gulf Coast, one in Sarasota, one in St. Pete, another one in Tampa. So excited to watch that business continue to grow and flourish, and to watch people come into these spaces that we've been talking about for years and see them be successful and become part of the fabric of the community. Is super excited. And last but not least, I'm starting a new company called Lighthouse Risk, which is a property and casualty MGA in the excess surplus spaces. So it's always fun to do the new thing too.
Excellent. Well, we're breaking news here on the podcast. New business for you. I love it. More to come on that. I'm sure we'd love to hear more about that. Well, Andrew Wright, founder of Franklin Street, Ally Capital Group, and Next Level Brands, thank you so much for joining us on the From the Corner Office podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Business Observer From the Corner Office podcast. I'm your host, Mark Gordy. This podcast was produced by Reed Corley of the Corley Company in Sarasota. To hear more episodes of From the Corner Office podcast, go to businessobserverfl.com.